Okay, going back to the PPF. Welcome to part 2 of chapter 2, by the way. Going back to the PPF. So if you are outside of the curve, it is impossible to get the combination of going back to the healthcare and education. It's impossible to get the combination of healthcare and education because we don't have enough resources, right? It is really impossible without growth, all right? So that's outside the curve. Inside the curve, it's inefficient. We are wasting resources. So outside, impossible, inside, inefficient. So as a society, we want to be as close to that curve as possible, or as we can get, all right? So toward the end of chapter 2, it talks about comparative and absolute advantage, all right? This is a huge concept that we will later cover in a bit more depth at the end of the chapter when we talk about international trade, all right? So, or did I say at the end of the chapter? I meant end of the semester if I said end of the chapter. Anyways, one of the last chapters we'll cover. And so, you know, we can talk about it now just on a normal level, and then I can also equate it to on an international level as well. But when we talk about an absolute advantage, it just means that I'm better than you at something, all right? And so if we were in a group project together and you are better than if I'm better at typing than you are, okay? Let's say that I can type 300 words a minute, which is crazy fast. I don't know anybody that can type that fast. But let's say I can, all right? That means that I can probably type better than most people, all right? So I'm going to have that absolute advantage over them. So I can perform typing better than most people with less resources. And resources in this case, I'm talking about... Sorry, I got cut off again. I don't think it is my day for making videos, but I'm doing it anyways. Anyway, so back to the typing. So I would have an absolute advantage over most people if I could type 300 words a minute, which I absolutely can't, but if I could. And so if we are doing like a group project together or whatnot, and let's say I could type fast and you are a more efficient researcher or whatever that looks like, you know, we would divide and conquer based on that, if you will. I have an absolute advantage of typing. I will do the typing. You are much quicker and more efficient at research, so you will do that. All right. So absolute advantage, you can perform better than somebody else with less resources. All right. And resources, in this case, I'm referring to time, and a lot of time equals money. All right. So that's absolute advantage. Then we have comparative advantage. And if you're looking on an international scale, a comparative advantage is when a country can produce something more efficiently than another country, right? But look, more on an individual level, I'm going to give you an example of running a relay or doing a relay, okay? And let's say in this relay there are swimming and there is swimming. There is swimming and there is running, all right? So let's look at running. Let's say you have to run a mile and that you can run a mile in 8 minutes and I can run a mile in 10 minutes, all right? So you're faster than me. So you might think, well, I should run. But then let's look at swimming. And let's say, and I'm not a swimmer, so this is going to be not accurate. Just go with me, all right? But you know, maybe you can swim a mile in 15 minutes and I can swim a mile in 16 minutes. So essentially you're better than me at both, right? But it's a relay. And so if you were to do both, it would take you, 15 plus 8. So that's 23 minutes, right? But if I were to do part of that, we could do it more efficiently and finish faster. So then we look, how do we decide? If you're better at both, what do I do? Do I run or do I swim? Well, if you can run 2 minutes faster than me in a mile, but swim 1 minute faster than me when you're swimming, then we would save a minute, right? Because if you ran in 8 minutes and I swam in I think I said 15. Let's go 14. Let's say I swim the mile in 14 minutes. And then I swam in 14 minutes. Then we'd be finishing in 22 minutes, all right? And so, and if we did the other way around, if I ran and you swam, okay, then we would be finishing in 23 minutes, all right? So that's kind of how in a comparative advantage, what's the better trade-off, right? What is your better opportunity cost, all right? And so swimming has a lower opportunity cost in this situation than running does. And so that is how we choose that I will swim and you will run. Okay. So just kind of an example of how you can relate to absolute advantage and comparative advantage. And once again, these are very simple terms, and we will dive a little bit more into it when we talk about international trade. All right. So the very end of chapter 2, it talks about why would people object to any of this. Okay. Why would people object? So, some people say we might not act like this. All right. And no, we don't usually put our choices on a graph. All right. But remember, we are all economists. All right. We are all face scarcity. All right. So we do a lot of these things in our daily life. We might not be graphing these things, but we think these processes out to make normal daily decisions. Okay. So, think of it that way. And, another thing it mentions, so we don't act this way, or the next thing it mentions is we should not act this way. All right. So we shouldn't, and the concept of that is kind of we shouldn't focus on our own happiness or satisfaction. But back in chapter 1, and I don't remember if I hit on this, but it talks about Adam Smith, and his idea or perspective was that if we were all doing what is best for us, all right, being efficient and productive gets us being efficient and productive, it gets us much closer as a society to being allocatively efficient. So in the grand scheme of things, if we are doing what is best for us, in turn, we are going to be doing what is best for our society. All right. If we are happy, if we are satisfied, we're going to be more productive. We're going to be more efficient, which in turn makes society, as individuals, in turn will make a society more productive, more efficient. Okay. In the very end, it talks about positive and normative statements. Okay. Think of just positive statements being factual. Okay. Something you can prove, right or wrong. All right. A normative statement is an opinion. All right. We might think of it as how the world should be. That's our opinion, right? Opinions are based on our own values, what we value most. So I could be like, Taco Bell is the best restaurant ever. That's my opinion, right? You, on the other hand, might say, Chick-fil-A is the best restaurant ever. Whatever that looks like. But remember, just normative, factual statements can be proven right or wrong. Positive statements. I'm so sorry. Positive statements are factual. Can be proven right or wrong. Normative statements are opinions, all right? So they cannot. So that wraps up chapter 2. And so I will also be plugging in some nuggets for chapters 3 and 4 for this week. But in 3 and 4, chapter 3, we're really going to dive into supply and demand. So y'all have a fantastic week, and I will be chatting with you soon.